All right, to start things off, I actually want to take us back to 1984, 25 years ago. And at this time, Neil Postman was trying to take stock of where we were at relative to this guy's prediction, George Orwell, who wrote a book about 1984. And he pointed out that there was a very different vision put forth by Huxley, and he decided to sort of take stock of where we were at in 1984 in this media environment. And if you looked at what Orwell was predicting, he was predicting that we would end up in a police state, sort of a Big Brother-like state, in which we would have to fear those who would ban books. Whereas Huxley feared that we wouldn't have to ban books because there would be nobody who would want to read them. And that's the big difference, right? Orwell was suggesting that we would have, that people would try to control information. Huxley was saying we would be having too much information. Orwell thought that we would have to fear those who would conceal the truth. Huxley was afraid that we would basically drown the truth in a sea of irrelevance. In short, Orwell thought that we would end up in a captive culture, whereas Huxley thought we'd end up in a trivial culture. And when Postman looked at the world in 1984, which is at the dawn of the cable revolution and all this media blasting us from all different sides, he came to suggest that we were amusing ourselves to death, that the Huxleyan version was the one that had come to fruition. And he had done this through a little analysis that he called media ecology, which is what I build on. I'm trying to merge media ecology with anthropology. It's the idea that media is like an environment. It takes us over it and sort of consumes us in many ways. So that media are not just tools, they're not just means of communication, that media actually mediate our conversations. Media basically, in some ways, determine or dictate who can say what to who, what they can say, how it will be said, and so on. And so when media comes in, when media change, our conversations change. And so just a quick overview of what Postman was saying in 1984, he was following up on what Marshall McLuhan had said, we shape our tools and thereafter our tools shape us. And he was looking at television as the big tool of the era that was really shaping our conversations. And this is what he had to say. He said, the conversations of our culture are happening here on the television, that they're controlled by the few and designed for the masses. They're always entertaining, even the serious ones, like big political debates and things like that are even meant to be entertaining. They're all punctuated by 30-second commercials, and all of these conversations collectively create our culture. And he summarized our culture as one of irrelevance, incoherence, and impotence. And just consider like Balloon Boy. Just think Balloon Boy, and you've got a sense of where we're at even today. He had this great quote that summarized the impotence thing. And he pointed out that even in the most serious conversations, you go to like the most serious newscast in 1984, and you would hear about the Middle East, all these really important problems. And he asked you this question. He says, what steps do you plan to take to reduce the conflict in the Middle East, like you yourself? Or the rates of inflation, crime, or unemployment? What do you plan to do about NATO, OPEC, the CIA, et cetera? And then he answers the question for you. He takes the liberty of answering for you. He says, you plan to do nothing, which is essentially what you could do in 1984, and that's basically what you did in 1984. And that's what he meant by a culture of impotence and incoherence and irrelevance in this sea of mass media. So I'm going to take you forward now to the year 2003, and something kind of interesting was happening at this time. There was this little pop song that emerged in Moldova around this time. Has anybody heard this before? Okay, so this emerges in Moldova in 2003. It gets popular in Italy in 2004, throughout Europe in later 2004. Then it travels over to Japan, where it starts to mix with anime culture and some animations and so on. One of these animations finds its way to a suburb in New Jersey where Gary Brolsma looks into his webcam and says, hello. And this is like a really important moment. Gary Brolsma is actually part of a sort of a geek community who knew how to upload video and share video at this time. And this is actually before YouTube, but only just a little bit before YouTube.
Video made by a teenager from New Jersey is finding itself into email boxes everywhere. And folks, this one is the real deal.
Okay, so this gets really big. Some people have estimated it's been seen 600 million times. It goes on. This is just 2 months, though, before YouTube gets started. So Chad, Steve, and Jawed register YouTube in February 2005, just after the Numa craze hits. By April, they upload the first video. And this now creates a platform where almost anybody can share a video. It's not just the sort of geeky underground that Gary Brolsma is a part of. It's just about anybody. And if you go to search on YouTube today, if you do a search for Numa Numa, you'll get about something like 58,000 hits. And if you start clicking on those, what you're going to see is that it was really just the beginning. What you get is like this big dance erupting, right? And Gary Brolsma is sort of like the first person on the dance floor. It's like the, Douglas Wolk calls it the internet's version of the Macarena. And so all of this is happening at the dawn of YouTube. And we thought, you know, this is really important. So we thought, well, we have to get involved in this. We have to start understanding what's going on here. So I got a bunch of students together and we started doing our own little dance online and getting involved in trying to understand this stuff. So now, of course, this is not just YouTube. This is social media. This is a whole new landscape of media that we need to understand. And there are several reasons why this matters. Here's a quick rundown. First off, it's not controlled by the few. It's not one way. It's created by, for, and around networks, not masses. And what that means is taking a long time to figure out. But it is sort of the revolutionary aspect of this. And also, it has the potential to transform individual pursuits into collective action. And so those are all reasons why it matters. Another big reason why it matters is because there's a lot of it. YouTube just announced that there's 20 hours of video uploaded every minute. That's over 1,000 times faster than you can watch. That's about 493,714 videos a day, and that's just on YouTube. And so if you take the whole mediascape all together, there's over 1 million online videos uploaded every day. And that's basically amounts to every month, all of us collectively as amateurs upload more video content than has ever appeared on any of the major networks combined. In a single month, we do that. And it's also coming in from many different devices. And the devices are getting more and more interesting, and they're sort of ubiquitous. And there's about over 3 billion of these devices that can upload to the web, and they're all over the world. And they're used in many different ways. And what we want to know is if the media changed, and therefore our conversations change, we want to know not only how our conversations are changing, but how our communities might be changing, and even how ourselves are changing. That's the really deep question that we're trying to get at. So one of the things we realized when we first started studying was that on YouTube and throughout the web, there's over 20,000 videos that are addressed to the YouTube community every day. Like, I mean, they actually use the word community, and here you'll see what these look like.
Yo, Swift Karate Chop, Monkey Dude 1212 here.
Hi YouTube, this is Powers.
So we wanted to know why, and of course to find out why, we had to get online and do this ourselves. So here's an example of one of my students very early on having an insight about what this is all about.
And I had a mirror around here to show you guys, but, oh, here it is. This is what I'm talking to. Not you, this. Well, you, but this. I'm talking to you, but for the time being, I don't know who you are.
And so this is actually a community that's created through these webcams and through screens. And we started thinking about what kind of community is created through webcams and screens. And the first thing you notice that when you start to talk into a webcam is that you get really nervous because you don't know who you're talking to. And we started thinking about this as a form of context collapse. Usually you shape who you are and how you're talking to other people based on the context. But suddenly you have virtually every possible context sort of collapsing in on itself. And it's hard to figure out what to say. So some of our first vlogs are kind of awkward here, as you can see. Hey. Hey. I'm Mike Wesch. I'm a professor at Kansas State University.
I feel like I should put a picture of a person right here. You know, maybe an eye. It would be so much better if this thing blinked and smiled and responded to what I said.
So I am in my closet. I feel a little strange out in the family room, just talking to what seems like myself. So.
And I'm a college student. College student. Enunciate.
And to tell you the truth, I actually spent about 5 minutes deciding how I was going to wear my hair, back her up. all forming this identity and this new mask to my new community.
And one of the things we noticed, not only by participating in this, but then interviewing other people in this YouTube community, was that not only were they nervous about what other people would say, but they were especially nervous about seeing themselves later on. And that reminded us of an insight from Marcia McLuhan that I thought was particularly relevant here, and it's about recognition and knowing yourselves kind of in a different way.
We live in the world of the instant replay. Around the planet, all the events are not only being recorded, but replayed. And the amazing thing about the replay is that it offers the means of recognition. The first time is cognition, the second time is recognition. And the recognition is even deeper. So replay offers a deeper level of awareness than the first play. Well, we had to, been getting into some very large matters about the effects of this new environment, this new electric environment on man and his awareness of himself.
I guess that's what makes me so uncomfortable talking on camera. It's just like, right now I'm looking at my face and like, good God. Because when I think of myself, I guess I don't really think of myself the way I appear to other people. Which is, yeah, young, naive. Oh, she's so cute. Cute little girl. Not cute.
So the first thing you'll notice in the YouTube community, where if you watch a lot of these vlogs, is you'll see that people are very self-reflexive and they're very self-aware. And a lot of that comes from just the fact of watching yourself on camera. But there's this other side of it, and that is that you're anonymous while watching. And a lot of the things can actually be explained by this. Lev Grossman has this great quote about this. Some of the comments on YouTube make you weep for the future of humanity just for the spelling alone. Never mind the obscenity and the naked hatred. And part of that is definitely sparked by this anonymity. And you'll see here, this is just a random example that I came to. This is just a very common dialogue that you'll see on YouTube. And you guys have all seen this before. And it just goes on and on, right? Here's one of my favorite ones. YouTube comments make me angry, grr. And then it's responded to, then don't comment on YouTube, you shit stain. And so basically this is a situation where you have anonymity, physical distance, rare and ephemeral dialogue, leads to a space where you can have hatred as public performance. But there's also another interesting thing that we discovered about these same three characteristics, that other people are feeling like it gives them the freedom to experience humanity without fear or anxiety, without the sort of social norms of, you don't have to like be completely self-conscious while you're watching other people, as you'll see here.
Voyeuristic, it allows you to watch other people without staring at them or making them uncomfortable because they don't see you watching them. You can just watch their videos. And it's really interesting. It's like this sociological experiment where you can just like see their being, you can see their person.
So that's a pretty deep experience of the other here, where you're actually sort of seeing their being, seeing their person. And we see that a lot in the YouTube community. One of my students put this clip together to show some of the things that happen in that community here.
It's just amazing to me how powerful this medium is. I mean, I'm sitting in my living room, talking to a camera. My God, the interaction, it's unbelievable.
So get you in the mood so that you're like, oh, this is how it's done. It's casual. We just talk to the camera here.
Let's put that there, see if that helps. I got to figure this thing out eventually. Just came by to say, came by. What do you mean came by? I didn't come by. I'm sitting right here.
And this is one of the most remarkable things. Here it says that sometimes this distance allows us to connect more deeply than ever before. One of the things you'll see on here is that people will actually confess to things on camera that they don't even confess to their closest friends and family. And that's what you'll see some of that here.
January is a hard month for me. Right now, I should be preparing for the birth of my son, Zachary. But I'm not, as you guys already know.
Hi Mel, I watched your video and sorry I'm running behind on my schedule here.
I was listening to it and I felt my tears coming.
This is a big fucking experiment in putting myself out. We're all learning from each other and about ourselves. And that's what I think fucking YouTube should be about.
Thank you guys.
And so there's a hero that emerges on YouTube, and some of you guys may have seen this guy before, but YouTubers love this guy. And mostly because he takes those deep anonymous connections that you see on YouTube and he makes them manifest in the real world. He goes by the name One Man, which is sort of emblematic. And here you see he's the quintessential lonely individual just looking to connect with people out in the world. So he has this free hug sign, walks around, eventually somebody gives him a hug, and then it starts to spread. Not only do people keep giving him hugs, but other people take up the sign, and it just keeps going from there. So this is posted to YouTube and gets over 40 million hits, and then it goes global, and there's thousands of these events held all over the world. That sort of gives you a little bit of a sense of how these can inspire, like the new media can inspire or facilitate collective action. But of course, it is YouTube, and one of the other aspects of YouTube is that everybody's always commenting on each other and sort of making fun of each other and spoofing each other. So here comes the parody now. But there's one other aspect of YouTube that I want to end with, and that is, here's Mad V. He wears a Guy Fawkes mask as sort of to create himself anonymously, but it also allows him to become a platform for other people to collaborate with him. And so here he just invites people to make a stand, make a statement by writing something on their hand. And so he demonstrates this at the end of this video. And then he gets thousands of responses. This becomes the most responded to video on YouTube in the early days of YouTube. And it's kind of interesting to think about what people would hold up to these connected webcams. It's kind of the first time in history that humans have wired up all of these little cameras. And what would they hold up to the camera? And you can see there's messages of loving yourself, loving each other. And this may be, someday we may look back at some video like this as sort of that iconic video that is the emblem of that moment when we connected all of these cameras. But I hope it doesn't come off as sort of blind optimism that this is like a great world, because in fact, these people would not be writing these messages if these things actually existed. Like if we were one world and one people and all those types of things, then they wouldn't need to say it. So in many ways, this is actually emblematic of what I would consider the tragedy of our times, and that is that we are more connected than ever, and yet we don't realize it and don't truly live it. I'll end it there. Thanks.